Hello, my name is Chloe, welcome to my channel. Today I'm bringing to you a deep dive into Haunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. So, where do I even start with this? If you've been on my channel a while, you might know that I did a video on Den of Vipers by K.A. Knight. This was all the way back in, I want to say April of 2021. It is not the highest production value. I don't even like the thumbnail. There's nothing I like about this video looking back, but I had such a fun time filming it, and it's actually my best performing video of all time. So I was thinking, what other books do people want to know why people say they're bad without reading them? And the one that came to mind was Haunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. This got really hyped, specifically on TikTok, and all I've heard about this book is that it's depraved, it's disgusting, people go in expecting a romance but they come out scarred. So I'm going to read it and I'm going to tell you everything that happens so that you don't have to do it yourself. I have notes and everything, and that's when I know that I've like really prepared for a YouTube video, because I normally just go with it, but there are things that I need to say before I start this video. First of all, a viewer warning. Evie, you cannot watch this one. So if you're watching at Grandad's house, you can't watch this one, I'm afraid. I'll be warning Grandad and I'll be warning Mom and Dad that you can't watch this one. It's not good for you, but you can watch the next one, just not this one. So that is my little cousin who watches every single one of my videos. And Evie, you can't watch it. So if you're still watching, you need to turn it off. Continuing from that, if you are any member of my family, if you are any one of my colleagues, you cannot watch this. I am going to be reading things out of this book that you never want to hear come out of my mouth. So please stop watching. And just the overall vibe of this video is, can this book be as bad as everyone says it is? And by bad, I don't particularly mean the writing or the story. It's just the stuff that happens in it I've heard is bad. And what I am going to do is read you the content warning page, because if it's in the content warnings, it's probably going to be in the video. So if anything here means that you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. I am not going to be offended in any sense of the word. So, from H.D. Carlton herself. The contents are very dark with triggering situations, such as non-dub con, I don't know what that means, between the main characters, graphic violence, human trafficking, stalking, child trafficking, child sacrifice, mentions of child death, and explicit sexual situations. There are also particular kinks such as gunplay, somnophilia, bondage, and degradation. Any of that doesn't sound like your cup of tea, which hopefully none of it should, you don't need to watch this video. I will not be offended. Right, so what I'm going to do is I have split this book over 7 days, like in 7 chunks, if I could actually show you. And what I'm going to do is film you like a big update, I think, at the end of every day. That's the starting plan, because I have already done at day 1. I did it last night and I had like my hair up in a towel, just got out the shower, was not vlogging appropriate. So we're going to talk about what happens in the first 78 pages. I should also say this is a complete spoiler filled video, otherwise there would be no point. So if you do actually want to read this at some point, maybe read it before coming to watch the video, because I'm going to tell you everything. First up, when you start to go through the book, there is a playlist, and I have created this playlist on Spotify. I think it already existed about 50 times, so I went and made my own. I will link it down in the description if you want to see the playlist. And a lot of the pages have this like rose wallpaper, and I love that. I also need to say I left the gift note in here to remind me that this video would not be possible without the lovely Freya, who is one of my Cullen House patrons, and she gifted me this book for my birthday. So without you, Freya, I couldn't be doing this video, so thank you very much. We are following Adeline, who is a successful author. She has moved into her grandmother's house. She spent a lot of time there as a child, and her grandmother has sadly died, so she's taken on this creepy old house. We're talking gaps between the walls, we're talking a creepy attic, think flickering lights and rainstorms and big armchairs, like really creepy vibes. She is doing a book signing and she knows that there is someone watching her and she's a little bit creeped out. And that brings us on to our other character, who is a full-blown stalker. Really bad. At this point we still don't actually know his name, so even though I might know it from other places, I'm not going to say it. Full-blown stalker, and he's a very intelligent individual in terms of hacking and computer sides of things, but he's also an incredibly violent individual. At one point in these first couple of pages, he actually breaks into and saves all of these young girls from a child trafficking ring, and there's a very gruesome way of killing all of the men. Also, right at the start of the book, he is torturing a man for information and doing that very graphically. The interesting thing is that while in this creepy house, Adeline finds diary entries from her great-grandmother Gigi, who was also being stalked. So I've picked out one of the diary entries for you just so that you can get the vibe of this. So we have like printed letters on the pages, and it says April 10th, 1944. My visitor is here outside my window watching me while I write. My hand is trembling and I cannot tell if it's from fear or not. I couldn't explain this feeling if I tried. I've attempted to write down these feelings, explain them, but no words seem to suffice. I suppose the best way to describe it is thrilling. I don't know what is wrong with me, but something is very wrong, needless to say. When our eyes connect, my breath shortens. My blood catches fire. It feels as if an exposed wire is resting on my flesh. It's a visceral reaction and I fear I'm becoming addicted to it. He's coming closer now. I keep meeting his eyes, getting distracted from my writing. It's becoming common now, my distractions. John has begun to notice. He peppers me with questions, asking what's on my mind. How do I tell the man I love that I'm thinking of another? How do I tell him I've begun to picture another when my husband kisses me, when he touches me? My visitor is retreating, slipping off into the darkness. I fear this man, but yet I am still far too intrigued. So the grandmother is being stalked at her house and she's into it, like into it. Which our new main character, the new stalker, is absolutely deranged. And I actually picked out his first chapter and wanted to give you some sentences to explain him a little bit. I'm going to move setting just so you have a slightly different background while I talk. Okay, not a massive fan, but we've moved. It gives you something different. So I literally wrote down, read most of chapter 2, which clearly I'm not going to do, but I will read out some of the crazy things. Oh, actually in this chapter is when he is torturing the man for information, and he says, "This knife is about to go halfway through your eyeball. I'm not even going to show you any mercy and shove it all the way through to your brain." I'd already cut off one of his ears, along with ripping off 10 of his fingernails. I don't know why she specified 10, like of course, like all? Don't know. Severed both Achilles' heels, a couple of stab wounds in specific locations that won't allow the... Oh no, I didn't mention this. So if you know me, I do not swear, really. There are exceptions, but I don't really swear. So there's a lot of swearing in this. I'm gonna try and like make it obvious what word I'm saying, but maybe not say the word. I don't know. I'm more happy to read out like brutal, depraved sex scenes than I am swear. So it's fine. Anyway, so a couple of stab wounds in specific locations that won't allow the... I'm so awkward. To bleed out too quickly and too many broken bones to count. Dickhead won't be getting up and walking out of here, that's for damn sure. See, that one I don't mind. It's just the F word is a bit harsh. I nod slowly, right before I swing my arm back and plunge the entirety of my knife through his pupil. You're a child rapist, I say aloud, though he's no longer capable of hearing me. Like I'd let you live. I finish on a laugh. I slide my knife from the socket, the suction noise threatening to ruin any dinner plans I had in the next several hours. Which is annoying, because I'm hungry. While I do enjoy myself a good torture session, I'm definitely not a dickhead that gets off on the sounds that accompany it. The gurgling, slurping and other weird noises bodies make when enduring extreme pain and foreign objects being plunged into them is not a soundtrack I'd ever fall asleep to. And now for the worst part, dismembering it into bits and pieces and disposing of them properly. I don't trust other people to do it for me, so I'm stuck with the tedious, messy job. He's done that. Now he's gone for a walk. He is walking past the bookstore that Adeline is signing in. Before me is a picture of an author that's hosting a book signing. Oh god, she's effing incredible. Long wavy cinnamon hair brushed over dainty shoulders, creamy ivory skin with freckles dotting her nose and cheeks. Light and sporadic without overwhelming her innocent face. Her eyes are what draw me in, sultry slanted eyes, the type that always look seductive without trying. They're nearly the same colour as her hair, a brown so light it's unusual. One look from this girl and any man would be on their knees. Her lips are pouty and pink, stretched into a radiant smile with straight white teeth. I note the name below the picture. Adeline Riley. A beautiful name fit for a goddess. Something about her captivates me. It feels like a hurricane is at my back, pushing me towards her and leaving no room for resistance. My feet are carrying me into the bookstore, my black boots soaking the welcome mat at the entrance. I've obviously skipped a bit because I'm not going to read the entire chapter, but the people in front of us seem to part at the perfect angle, providing me with a clear view. I only see her from the corner of my eye at first, but the small glimpse is enough to send my heart into a tailspin. My head turns like one of those creepy bitches in an Exorcist movie. Slow, but instead of an evil smile, I'm sure I look like I've just found out that there's evidence that Earth is actually flat or some shit. Oxygen, words, coherent thoughts, all that shit escapes me when I get my first look at Adeline Riley in the flesh. Taking a deep breath, I find a spot against the wall in the back. I don't want to get too close yet. No, I want to watch her for a while. I lean against the wall and watch her, absolutely enthralled with the little creature before me. All I want to do is break her, shatter her into pieces, and then arrange those pieces to fit against my own. I don't care if they don't fit. I'll effing make them. And I know I'm about to do something bad. I know I'm about to cross lines that will never be able to come back from, but there's not an ounce of me that gives a because I'm obsessed, I'm addicted, and I will gladly cross every single line if it means making this girl mine, if it means forcing her to be mine. My mind is already made up, the decision fortifying like granite in my brain. At that moment, her wandering eyes slide right onto mine, clashing with a force that nearly sends my knees to the ground. Her eyes round in the corners ever so slightly, as if she's enraptured by me as I am by her. And then the reader before her is pulling her attention away, and I know I need to leave now before I do something stupid, like kidnap her in front of at least 50 witnesses. No matter, she won't be able to escape me now. I've just found myself a little mouse, and I won't stop until I've trapped her. So, the point of me reading all of that is this guy is crazy, like crazy. And there's a lot of weird stuff that happens in the first 70 odd pages. Like I mean, it has to be him. There's no way it can be anyone else at this point. He seems to be getting into her house through locked doors and everything. And on page 38, there is some noise that's happening in the house. So she goes to investigate. She checks that the front door is locked. So she's just kind of looking around the house and goes to the kitchen, going straight for the knives because she thinks there might be someone in her house. And then it says, but I catch a glimpse of something resting on the island out of my peripheral, freezing me into place. My eyes jump to the item and a curse escapes my lips when I see a single red rose resting on the countertop. So there is just a red rose waiting for her on the counter. Like, that is, imagine that actually happening. And at the same time, these diary entries are getting even more depraved from, I'm gonna just call her Grandma Gigi. So it says, he came back again. I dare say I'll be disappointed if he didn't. John left for work and Serafina went off to school. The minute the house emptied, I waited by the window. Not my proudest moment, I must admit. This time he walked into the house. I froze when he did, terrified of what he would do, but also anticipating his next move. When he revealed the entirety of his face to me, without shadows concealing his features, my breath caught. He's beautiful, piercing blue eyes, a strong jawline, and big, so very big. He approached me, still refusing to speak. He caressed my face with his fingertips, so gently. He circled around me, letting his fingers drift across my skin. I shivered beneath his touch and he smiled. His smile made my heart stop in my chest. And then he left, walked out without a word. I almost pleaded for him to come back, but I stopped myself. He'll be back. Like, what? What? We then find out that Gigi lived in this house and was murdered in this house, in the bedroom that then her daughter, our character's grandma, and then now our main character has as a bedroom. So Gigi was murdered in the house. No one was accused, no one was convicted, and I mean, it had to be the stalker, right? And then I think perfectly to round off this first 6 chapters, we're talking about how Gigi was murdered and how Adeline could never be so stupid. So where was she murdered? In her bedroom, which disturbingly became your Nana's bedroom, and now yours, I'm sure. It's chilling, a little creepy, but to Mom's dismay, it's not enough to get me to move out, or even change rooms. If that makes me a freak, then I would only fit in with the family. Gigi fell in love with her stalker, the very man who must have killed her eventually. And now I have one of my very own. The only silver lining is that I would never be so stupid to fall in love with him. And now I'm gonna start the next chunk to see her inevitably meet him, I'm sure, and probably fall in love with him. I'm gonna say I will try and just update you when I finish a chunk. We will see. It depends what kind of things happening and what I want to read out to you guys, but thank you for joining me for this ride, and I hope to bring you some chaos. Okay, I've just finished what I've classed as day 2. I wish this would keep focusing. I probably don't need to hold this book up every single time. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, just finished what day 2 is in the Patreon buddy read. So I have more thoughts, and I did have less thoughts, and then things started happening. So we've got Adeline, or Addie as we're now calling her, who goes to a nightclub in this section, and she goes home with a man called Archibald Talavera III. First of all, that was weird because I've never heard it referred to this before. So how do I put this gently? They are canoodling. He's like going at it. I'll just do that. I know what I meant. He's going at it, and he says, "That's it, let me hear you sing now." And then further down the page, "You sing so pretty," he whispers in my ear. And then, "Do you sing pretty when you come, Addie?" he says in a dark whisper. What's this singing business? Singing? Wasn't a fan of that. Of all the things I could pick to have a problem with, it wouldn't have been that by my brain. So he's canoodling with Addie, and the stalker has texted her and warned her while she's out that this man shouldn't touch her or he'll be without his hands by the end of the night. So canoodling is a-going, and there's a big knock on the door. So Archibald goes outside and with his gun and is going to deal with the issue. The issue is not very dealt with, and I wrote down Stalker kills him. He sends her a text. Where are we going? She leaves the house and it says, "The crunch of something under my foot cements my body into stone. I close my eyes, another prayer on my tongue. If I stepped on a body part, oh my god, I'm going to freak. Taking a few short breaths, I move my foot away and look down. A rose, the petals crumbled from my foot. The thorns are snipped, preventing it from cutting me, but it doesn't matter. This rose has not been deprived of one's pain. Dripping off the petals and onto my boot is fresh blood. Arch is gone, and all that's left of him is a bloody rose. Don't feel guilty, baby. I don't make idle threats, so consider this a lesson learned." So I put he killed him, and then I put scratch that. He's actually kidnapped him. So what he's done, if I go forward a few more pages, is our stalker has kidnapped this Archibald guy, taken him back to his lair, and is torturing him for what he has done with Addie. But also it turns out he's not a very nice man. And he says, "I read up on your ex-wife. You beat her so badly she was barely recognisable when she was taken to hospital. Evidence that you had broke a tequila bottle against her face and then stabbed her with it. Not to mention the countless broken bones and bruises. You nearly killed her." So Addie's not having a good job at picking men. We also get, while Addie is sleeping, Mr. Stalker is creeping around her house in the night, and she goes up to her bedroom door as she senses him on the other side. And this is actually where we get our first go of her confronting him and being like, "What do you think you're doing?" So she's like chased him outside. He's gone outside and she's followed him. The moonlight spills over his silhouette, and with perfect clarity I watch him slowly shake his head at me, warning me to not do what I'm about to do. Steeling my spine, I angrily stomp down the steps and charge towards him. "Hey asshole, if you don't get off my property, I will call the cops." So she has literally, he's outside staring into the house, and she has ran outside and gone, "Hey, go away." And at this point, he doesn't say anything to her. He doesn't do anything. He just walks away, like the stalker in the letter from Gigi, in the diary. So then after this has happened, her friend Daya, who we've been hearing a lot about, she actually works, weirdly, for a security company, and she's installed security cameras at the house. She has a thing, she stalks really bad people and she finds them through her IT. So she actually works for this guy's company. That hasn't been officially announced, but we know it has. Like, we know that's what's happening. So she's scared for her friend, and she invites Addie to stay at her house. And while she lies down in the guest room, it says, "Light blue walls decorated with a few oceanic pictures and white gauzy curtains. My eyes snag on those. Not the curtains themselves, but what's in between them. For the second time tonight, my heart lodges into my throat, pulsating against my voice box and preventing me from making a sound. Outside the window is the silhouette of a man staring directly at me." So he has literally followed her to the friend's house and has stood outside her bedroom window. Little bit creepy. Then I will shut up after this one because we have many parts of this book to talk about. But what I think H.D. Carlton, the author, is now trying to do is make us feel like this guy is a good person. Because we have a whole chapter then on how he uses his like IT and evilness to track down really bad people and kill them and wipe them from the face of the earth. So he gets called into work and there is a new video, and it is a ritualistic offering. 4 robed men stand over a stone slab with a squirming kid tied down to it. He doesn't appear any older than 18, though the grainy footage makes it hard to say for sure. Over and over, he's screaming to let him go, his voice breaking as he cries for help. I run a hand over my face when they plunge a curved a curved knife into his chest, his blood spilling into divots carved into the stone that direct his life force into a bucket. The men each part the top of their robes, baring their chests before dipping their fingers into the blood and painting symbols across their flesh. So you have a whole chapter about how he's like watching this video and how there was a previous video of it happening to young women and how he knows who those people are and he's got constant monitoring on them, but he's trying to figure out who it is in this new video. So are we supposed to think that because he killed people who perform child sacrifices that he's a good person? Like, now I've even said it as a sentence, I'm like, oh, he is a good person, but he stood outside her bedroom window. If anyone was stood outside my bedroom window, I would be absolutely crapping myself and not congratulating them on what they do in other parts of their life. So that is 150 pages of this done. This is a 570 page book, so we're not done yet. Plenty more to add, and I'm going to try to do at least one more section tonight and let you know what's going on. It's barely been any time, but I have updates, and then I've got to the chapter that is going to make this section interesting, apparently. So, we have a ghost, which I was not expecting. So kind of feels like not worth mentioning with all the craziness, but I'm walking down the dimly lit hallway towards my room when a flash of movement catches my eye. I freeze, my finger just pressing the red button when I see, oh, she's on the phone, when I see what looks like a woman disappearing through the attic door. In all the years I've been in this house, I've only seen an apparition a few times. More often I've heard voices, footsteps, doors slam and felt the freezing drafts, but rarely anything visual. But I know what I just saw. A woman in a white dress with tight blonde curls. I didn't see her face, but there's a distinct feeling that it was Gigi. So not only do we have crazy murderous stalkers, we have a ghost. And then we get the mention of Satan's Affair. So Satan's Affair is coming to town again and they have new haunted houses. I forgot to mention Satan's Affair. I was going to do it at the start, but I'll do it now. I don't really have too much to say on it because it's a very depraved book, but H.D. Carlton, I was pointing as if it was there, has also written Satan's Affair, which is a 150 page novella following Sibby, who is in one of the haunted houses at Satan's Affair. It's a travelling carnival with haunted houses. I've just said haunted houses twice. And she decides she has the power to smell people and decide on their scent whether they are worth living if they've done horrible things. In this book, we have intense graphic scenes of murder. I was going to do a whole video on that book and the scenes were too graphic for me to read out, so I would not recommend that you pick it up, but it was absolutely crazy. We had very intense murder, like graphic torture, and Sibby, our main character, was sexually enjoying the murder. She had a team of 4 or 5, I want to say 4 men who were helping her with this, and let's just say there was one point where she enjoyed all 4 men at the same time over dead bodies. My camera's now dying. Is this the sign for me to stop updating? I do want to talk about, he's in the house. The stalker is in the house and he is tracking her down, and I'm just going to change the battery and then I'll be back. Okay, so stalker dude is in the house and he is hunting her down. Not that he has to try, like he knows exactly where she is. But he's in the house and she gets a text message that says, "Ready for your punishment, little mouse. You haunt me. It's only fair I return the sentiment. You're so beautiful when you're scared. I'm so close I can smell you." So she ends up running up to the bedroom where he is, holding a knife, and he is out on the balcony holding a knife. She does get him to take his hood down and it is revealed that he's the guy from the start in the bookshop. He's got one really dark eye, one really light eye, and a scar running across his entire face. So very distinguished, but she is finding him absolutely gorgeous, breathtaking. You can't ignore him. She has to be with him. So she says, are you here to kill me? And he said, why would I do that? I wouldn't kill you, little mouse. I want to keep you. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to allow you the opportunity to run and hide. If I find you, then I will deliver your punishment. If I don't, you go unpunished and I will leave. So she goes and hides. He finds her instantly. Barely a struggle. There's a lot of chasing throughout the house, which I won't just keep repeating. I'm halfway down the hallway before a steel arm bands around my waist and lifts me up. No, I scream, kicking at air as I fight his hold. Oh yes, baby, he growls, swinging our bodies towards the wall. I grunt from the impact, leaning my back against the wall and using it as leverage to kick against the bastard of a man. I like you scared, he whispers, sending shivers down my spine. I like you begging and pleading, crying out to God to save you. I like you trembling beneath my touch uncontrollably. It's time to punish you, and I've thought of many ways I could do this. It only infuriates me more that he finds my lack of consent so inconsequential, so worthless. What are you going to do? I choke out, the stutter of my words in sync with the beat of my heart. I'm going to claim you, he says, right before his teeth clamp down. So he bites her neck all the way to her shoulder, like actually bites. She retaliates by biting his cheek until she tastes blood. Never known that to be sexual, I won't lie. Never heard of that. So he takes her into the sunroom, which is where she was hanging out with Archibald III. He says, you let a man touch you in here, make you come, he states, his tone bled dry of emotion. Normally I'd replace his fingers with my own, but I think you need something else to teach you a lesson. Okay, I'm sorry, I rush out, my eyes widening as he points the gun to my chest. I'm really... Shh, he hushes. You're not sorry yet, little mouse, but you will be. So I've got to head back onto sprints, but what I'm going to do as soon as I start is get a cup of tea, and then I'm going to sit and read chapter 16 pretty much live with you guys. I have a message from the mother-in-law, which I'll put on the screen. She has read this book. Her main phrase was, I don't condone chapter 16. We are about to start chapter 16, and I'm going to take you along for the ride. So I didn't think this through because now I have a scalding hot. Why are you not focusing? I don't understand. Now I have a scalding hot cup of tea. So, and the chapter's only like 13 pages long. So we're gonna put the tea down, but for reference, my plan did go through. I went and got tea. So what I needed to do now is have a break and then come and read this chapter, but I don't have time for that because I need to read it. So, chapter 16, otherwise known as the mother-in-law does not condone this behavior. What I'm gonna do, I think I'll just read out questionable things and put some music on. Marlene reminded me of the Den of Vipers music, so cue Den of Vipers music if it's still available and copyright free. And let's do this. Okay, already. I've already said I'm not gonna kill you, he responds, his tone dripping with impatience. He punctuates his response by dragging the tip of the gun through the valley of my breasts. The gun continues its path down my stomach, stopping at the edge of my leggings. Take these off, please don't do this. He cocks a brow and the act is damning. He looks so damn unimpressed with my pleas, causing another tear to trace the path of the first. Now, Adeline. Keeping one finger hooked in my underwear, he points the gun in my face with the other. I recoil, pinching my eyes shut and letting loose a startled yelp. Relax, I just want you to suck it. The gun? I feel like this happened at Den of Vipers. My entire body locks when I feel the cool metal slide against my clit. I literally feel weird reading this. Oh my god, please don't. This time my words are cut off from the feel of him dipping the gun past my folds. Just the tip, but enough to close my throat, only allowing a startled squeak to escape. So I finished the smut. It's not that I'm disappointed, because clearly it was messed up. Like, he's basically just, I guess I didn't tell you. I feel like there wasn't anything that interesting to read out. You can imagine what he's doing with the gun. When he angles the gun in a particular way, he hits a spot inside me that sends my eyes to the back of my head and an unchecked moan to slip free. So we know what was happening. But then it's kind of like, yeah, he's done, and he walks off, which obviously she's still been like literally raped with a gun. Like, that has just happened. That's what we've just read. But I'm sure that happens in Den of Vipers. Well, maybe not actual rape. That was rape, which obviously I don't want that in my romance. But I wasn't as disturbed as I have been with other things that this author has read. So I'm gonna stop my like live filming. I'm gonna go sit down, make some more notes on this section, and then call it a night on the depravity. Screw the notes, I had to update you. I'm only on chapter 17. So the stalker is talking and he's saying what she's wearing in graphic detail, which we'll roll with. She's wearing nothing but a long white t-shirt, the soft cotton ending mid-thigh. Her rosy nipples poke through the thin material and my mouth waters with the need to take one in my mouth and suck on it until she's wriggling beneath me. I lick my lips. Soon. That's just smut. What we then read, this is I was reading and I physically went, so I had to read to you. I get a full view of her arse. Well, ass, it's American, but arse. When she slides her feet out of her slippers and then bends down to arrange them neatly before her nightstand. My cock hardens, her perfectly round arse overflowing her underwear. Her pussy, I hate that word, is on full display. Just a thin piece of fabric separating her from my tongue. I close my eyes and work to regain control. I have to be quiet. She doesn't know I'm hiding in her closet. Waiting for her to fall asleep so I can stare at her beauty in peace. He's in her wardrobe. He is in her wardrobe. We're vlogging again. I don't know how we're going to make this work, but you're balanced on my microphone and she has just woken up like this. My eyes open wide and my breath lodges in my throat when I see a dark figure settled between my legs. Immediately I panic. My heart races and my adrenaline surges. I go to scream, but nothing constricts my mouth. My eyes round when I realise my mouth is taped shut. My arms are above me, tied to the headboard with thick ropes. I tug against the binds, desperately trying to slide my wrist out the loops to no avail. I struggle hard, but my body can only move so much. Thick thighs trap me into a firm hold as my stalker props himself above me, his face concealed by the shadows. "What did I tell you, little mouse?" he asks, his deep voice barely above a whisper. I don't even spare him a glance, my panic gaze glued to the ropes are rendering me completely effing helpless. He plants his hands on my hips and roughly pins me to the bed. Electric shocks travel from his skin to mine, the feeling making me tremble beneath his calloused hands. I scream with frustration, attempting to buck him off. He laughs at my attempt, the rich sound of his amusement sending ice down my spine. He grabs my face in his hand roughly and brings his face down into mine. Minty breath and a hint of smoke washes over me. "Keep pissing me off, Adeline. I do enjoy hurting you. It's music to my ears when I hear you cry. You've been a very bad girl, little mouse, and I do enjoy showing you what happens to bad girls." His words from before filter through the panic. "You can't escape me." My eyes round when his fingers skim beneath the waistband of my underwear, teasing my sensitive skin and warning me of his intentions. I suppress the shiver, determined to maintain my dignity, even as he pulls me down to my knees in one move. I growl deep in my chest and desperately kick at him again. I use both legs, putting every bit of force behind them. He snatches both my feet before they connect with his face. Quickly, he works his hands around both ankles while avoiding a foot to the face, and then he forces my legs apart, pinning my knees to the bed as he bears the P word. I don't like the P word. So after all that, his tongue slides against my clit, a feral groan releasing from his throat as he tastes me. Uncontrollably, my eyes roll and my head kicks back as the most delicious feeling envelops me. But I refuse to let that cloud my judgment. Riding alongside pleasure is disgust. Okay, good. Ew, I hate this. I hate this. You're so effing creamy. Creamy. Remember this, little mouse. Remember that your disobedience brings you pain. I feel the break, the moment when my body decides it needs what he's giving me more than the need for him to stop. I don't like this. I am uncomfortable. I'll never recover Not when my soul has been ripped from my body and dragged down to hell. I fell so deeply that I found myself in the devil's lair, being feasted on from the dark God himself. Let's not go that far. His mouth skates over my lips once before I watch a trail of saliva drip from his mouth into mine. Swallow your juices. Do not do that. Ugh. Ugh. This is intense. My throat works as the unique taste blooms across my tongue. He growls deep in his chest before he crushes his lips into mine. I let him. Later I'll ask myself why, but with his fingers still drawing out pleasure, despite my orgasm having faded and the fog clouding my judgment, I effing let him. Not only that, but I kiss him back. At one point, he withdrew his fingers and cupped my face with his hands almost sweetly. A stark contrast to, well, him and the way he devours me. He's not devouring you. That's not a devouring. Devouring sounds nice. I let it happen again with the gun and now this. Why do I keep letting it happen? You're not letting it happen. You can't let this happen. He's forcing himself on me and we both know that, but in the end he had me wanting it just as much as he did. He had me nearly begging for it. This is like... Not to mention we just made out like two horny teenagers about to lose their virginity. I'm bothered. I'm actively bothered, and that is the end of day 3 and I am done for the day. Like, I'm done. Hello, it is before I start work on Thursday, and what a better time than to talk to you about Haunting Adeline. Like, clearly I've got things I need to say. So I actually read 2 more sections that I classed them as last night, and I have things to say about all of them, so we might be here a while. The first thing I picked up is Daya, her friend, actually asks her outright if the sexual contact they'd had been consensual, right? Well, she actually says, bitch, what the fuck? Was it consensual? And this is where I get tripped up, because it wasn't. But had he kept going, had he stripped his clothes from his body and fucked me, I can't say with absolute certainty that I would have stopped him, or that I would have wanted to. Still, I shake my head no. Well, it wasn't consensual at first, I say. The last part like a question. Embarrassed that I'm admitting something like that. Like, embarrassed. What? At first? Meaning what? He was so good that he changed your mind? You have such pretty eyes, I tell her. She snarls at me. Spill, slut. Like, so bad. I close my eyes with a resigned sigh. That man ate the soul out of my body and I don't think I've gotten it back yet. So okay, we've established it wasn't consensual. Oh, and excitingly, page 285. So let me just show you how far that is through the book. 285. We finally find out this man's name. It is Zaid. I knew it was Zaid anyway, but for anyone who hasn't read it before, hasn't like followed it online, hasn't read Seconds of Hair, his name is Zaid. It took us this long, but his name is Zaid. And jumping ahead to 312, which quite a difference, we find out that Zaid is Z. They draw the lines, and Z, the owner of the Taking Down Criminals organisation that Daya works for, is Zaid. So, you know, it took them some time, but they drew the comparisons. We do have another very disturbing scene, as if we hadn't had any more. A gasp bursts from my throat as he wrenches my head roughly to his pelvis, right as he pulls out his cock. You think you can handle this? He asked darkly. Yep, I say, my voice wobbly, but I will bite it off if you try it. I'm too busy staring at his cock to notice the smirk glide on his face. The tip caresses my jaw, the soft skin sliding against me, sending shivers down my spine. He continues to pump his cock, and when I realise that he's jacking off in my face, I start to struggle. Let me go, I hiss, pushing both of my hands against his thick thighs. Tears line the edge of my lids, threatening to spill over as he leans down and bares his teeth in a vicious snarl. That fear holds me completely immobile. Finally, I feel the terror penetrate my thick skull, because this man could easily kill me. My bravery is sucked out of me like a vacuum, and I melt into a puddle of fear and hatred. This is in a sex scene. You want to act brave? Then I'm going to show you exactly what happens to smart mouths. You're going to swallow my cum like the fucking bad girl you are, and I don't give a fuck if you don't like it. He sucks in a sharp breath. Open your mouth, little mouse. Now, When I refuse, he slaps his dick across my face again, this time harder. Rage burns hotter and I'm tempted to reach over and bite the tip of his dick until it's severed completely. With reluctance, I open my mouth, hatred spewing from my eyes. He flashes a sinister smile before he says, "Now thank me." I go rigid, fury spiking hot. He wants me to do what? Fucking thank me for letting you swallow all my cum, Adeline. Thank you, I choke out angrily. As soon as I say the words, ropes of cum are spurting from his dick and right into my mouth. What is this? What is this? We then have, not that long after this, the lines are kind of being crossed now between the work Zaid is doing with the senator and the child sacrifice ring and all of that, which I haven't really talked about in too much detail because it's disturbing in the actual child sacrifices, but in the lead up it's kind of just following 4 men, which isn't quality content really. Not that any of this is. So there's an event ran by the senator. It turns out the senator's dad was the police investigator when great grandma Gigi was murdered. So there's all a bit of a link, and the senator says that she should come along to the party and he will tell her about her great nan. So he's kind of forcing her to go. Zaid then buys Adeline a dress to wear, and he comes and picks her up in the car. A cold sweat breaks out across my forehead. I feel exposed, and the way he's looking at me is searing me from the inside out. I'm just really effing uncomfortable right now. His eyes finally draw back to my own. A shiver snakes down my spine, slithering against my shot nerve endings. God, the way he's looking at me should be effing illegal. The hell are you doing, Zaid? The slightest curl to his lips and mouth instantly dries. I'll never get over how easily he morphs from man to beast. Just trying to picture what ring would look best on your finger. Like, okay, I didn't think you were quite that interested. Then, I know my window is open. I can hear people out there, so I'm just like trying to not get to the really disturbing stuff while it is. She starts back-chatting him. And we know that her back-chatting him is just a recipe for disaster in this book. So she starts back-chatting him. He ties his belt around her neck, forces her down onto her knees, and a repeat of what happened 40 pages previously. I can put a collar around this pretty neck of yours instead. Then you wouldn't have the option to say no. You would just be my good little girl that does whatever your master says. Would that be better, baby? No, I snarl, but it tastes like a lie. You don't own me. You never will. Take off my bout, Adeline. Make me ask again and see what happens. He's evil. Just as I suck in a deep breath, he's wrapping the bout around my neck, looping it through the buckle and pulling it tight. My eyes bulge like a fish, the metal biting into my skin as the bout constricts. Now, get on your knees. Then we have as if any descriptions here are too far after what we've already read. Then she basically just has like a bit of a nibble on it. She doesn't quite try and bite it off, but she definitely makes her intention clear. And then we finally, I will stop filming after this section so you at least get slightly different views around the room. We get to the question that we're all thinking. So you've heard the creepiness, you've heard the smut. We are 325 pages in. This is the length of a normal book, and we finally get to the question we're all asking. So this is Addie talking, and she says, how can you work to save women while actively stalking another? That is what we are all wondering. We are all wondering where his morals are, and they keep telling us, especially in the next section, how much work he is doing to save women, how traumatized he is when one of the saves doesn't work, or when a little girl is hurt, and how broken that makes him. So it's like, literally, they are still trying to paint him as a good guy. We know he's not a good guy. He can't be. He can't be. And I do think I'm very proud of myself in a way. Normally I still get sucked in and I'm like, yep, I would. I'm still on camp, I would not. I don't know how I feel about this book yet. I have actually now read up to page 416, so I have less than 150 pages to go, I think. And I'm still on camp, would not touch with a barge pole. We'll see. I'll give you a little bit more of an update in a little bit. Okay, we are in bed, which means one thing in a smutty reading vlog. It's getting serious. I can't even, the notes I have left myself for, I'm gonna make you a little bit higher. I feel like I'm bending down. Okay, that's way better. I don't even remember what is happening in this situation, but he's asking her if she's got daddy issues. I can't even read it. Okay, okay. I've read this in books. It's fine. I know it's a thing. I know it's quite a common thing, but it makes me feel physically sick. Are you saying you're my daddy? She sputters out incredulously, bringing my attention back to her. That's right, baby. And you're my good little girl. Shoot me. Shoot me. And then they... Do you know what? We're this far in, they've not actually had sex. Like, full sex. Which is interesting. They're keeping themselves busy enough. Oh, here we go. If you were my little girl, I would worship every inch of your body for as long as our souls are tethered to this earth. My tongue would leave no part of you untouched, untasted. I need to shut my window. My window's open. Okay, that content did not need to carry outside. If you were my little girl, I breathe, desire growing dangerously high, your sweet little pussy would be so full of me, you would forget what it means to feel empty. I would be inside of you so deeply, you would have to cut me out. Right. The issue I have with it, I know it's a thing, I know it's quite a common thing, but the whole persona of this man is saving young girls from predators. I don't think we can combine that character with someone calling his like sexual interest a little girl. That's where it's too weird for me. I'm like, if they were two separate people, I can not get on board with it, but I can kind of like read it and not care about it. The fact that he is literally saving young girls from predators and then wants the person he's interested in to call him daddy is weird. It's weird. It's just weird. So then they're in this like senator's house and he's got his own movie theatre in his house. So they start watching a horror film. Your cum will be leaking down your legs when we're done. How scandalous. Like, he's finger blasting her in a movie theatre that's not theirs. And good girl, I praise. Like, loud wet noises war with the sound from the movie as my fingers dip in and out. Oh God, she sucks in a sharp breath. That's right, I am your god. So you're her dad and her god? Like, that's a lot. That's a lot. Come on, little mouse. You've wasted enough time getting your pussy worshipped. Let's go get some answers. Like, okay, fine, fine. Then there's quite a lot in this next section. It's when they go to Satan's Affair, like the book Satan's Affair. And I've mentioned it before in this video, but I thought it was a really good place to do it because they actually go into the haunted house and meet the broken doll in this like section. In this book we have 4 men who enter the haunted house who are part of the paedophile ring and the like child sacrificial guys. As they enter, we also get Zaid entering, and Sibby's not quite sure about him, and she also does talk about 2 young women like running around and screaming. So the 2 young women are Adeline and Dyer. Then you've got Zaid, and then you've got the child killers, rapists, you know, those guys. So I won't spoil completely what happens in Satan's Affair, but it kind of says it in this. But Satan's Affair, this one, even when it's like disgusting, crude, sexual, I don't really mind too much reading it out. Part of me is like, should I do this? But Satan's Affair, I could not read out. I was going to do a video on it and I was just like, I've never felt so close to physically sick from a romance. It's like a horror romance, and it was just too much. So I didn't read it out in videos. I would actively recommend that you don't read it. I'm going to try and de-influence you to, just because I don't want anyone picking up that book and saying, oh, Chloe told me to read this, because it's too far. It's too far. But I did give it 4 stars, so I don't know what that says about me. But yeah, so they go to Satan's Affair, and once they've done the haunted house, she goes into a hall of mirrors, and that sounds horrific to me, like a scary hall of mirrors. I've done like a mirror maze and I don't like it. I like having someone with me. If I'm by myself, I will panic and get claustrophobic and just probably start crying. So I don't like them. To go into a hall, like a whole hall of them, sounds awful. She's in the hall of mirrors and Zaid also appears there. You all alone, baby girl? Obviously. No one here to save you. Why the hell would I need to be saved, Zaid? You going to hurt me? I'm going to ruin you, he corrects. Run, he growls. My lungs constrict at the guttural command. If I catch you, I fuck you. So, okay. And then this whole, let's just take the bookmark out. This whole chapter is him like physically chasing her. can't remember, I'm gonna have to read it again. I read this just before I went to bed, but he's physically chasing her, and that's where I'm like, this stalking thing is going too far. Fair enough looking outside your window, but like, he's actually chasing her. So she gives up very, very quickly. She says, I stopped running, hopeless. That's what running from Zaid is, hopeless. Chest pumping, I wait for him to find me. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to outrun him. My only chance of escaping him is to somehow incapacitate him and then try to run. Like, she still wants to hurt him, so she's still running. She doesn't want to be around him. Like, I'm still really conflicted about this. His breath fans across my neck as I feel him lean down. Soft lips brush the shell of my ear. Shivers cascade down my spine like a raging waterfall. I whip around, ready to tell him off, but not a syllable escapes when my lips are captured between his the second I come face to face with him. He tastes delicious, and I want him out of my mouth. And then I do something really stupid. I suck his bottom lip into my mouth, lost in the taste of him, the feel of his lips against mine. So like, oh, he's forced me to kiss him, but now I'm really into it. And they're basically just kissing, like aggressively, but they're just kissing. And then she says, not everything has to come down to physical attraction. Maybe my body wants you, but up here, I tap my temple, doesn't. You want to know why I love the House of Mirrors? He murmurs in my ear. Why? I whisper. Look around you. What you're seeing now is what I see every day. No matter how far I run, how hard I try to escape you, you're everywhere I go. You're everything I see. Loving you is like being trapped in a house of mirrors, little mouse. And I've never felt so at home whilst being lost inside of you. I don't think you know what love is, I whisper. Just like he wants, a reckless, impulsive feeling consumes me. All I ache to do is let him have me. So many nights where he'd sneak into my bed and take advantage of my weakness. Whether the weakness was in my body or my brain, he used that against me time and time again. But he never took it all the way, and every morsel inside my being has been waiting for this moment, anticipating it. I'm dying to deny him, yet I have to fight my body from turning and pulling him into me. So he said he loves her. She's basically given in and said, yeah, just have sex with me, basically. And she said, don't torture me. I bite out, anger flashing from his deliberately slow pace. Poor little mouse, he taunts. You're sadly mistaken if you thought I was going to make this anything but painful. And then that is where I left off for the night. So I'm gonna finish this today. We'll see how painful he makes it, shall we? I really don't know what to make of this book, and if you're still with me watching the video at this point, I'm very impressed, because I don't know what you're getting out of this and I don't know what I'm getting out of this, but we're gonna finish it. Hello. So this ending might be a little bit more abrupt than makes sense. It is now the day before I want to post this vlog, and that has changed multiple times. So I started filming this back in November, and I really just fell out of love with the idea of doing the video while I was filming the video. I think it's genuinely because this book gets so dark. Like, yeah, it was funny to laugh at the start, but then it actually impacted me quite a lot. So I just wrote some notes, which I have plenty of notes, but just didn't really want to talk about them. And I got put off a little bit more and more, but now I do want to bring you the footage. I asked on Twitter and a lot of you said, just do it anyway, even if it doesn't have like the nice rounded off ending. So I'm gonna still bring you the video. I hope you enjoy it for what it is, but yeah, I'm sorry it's not perfect. I believe I got up to 5 days of reading this, or the 5 chunks, and when I got up to day 6, literally what I have written down is, from now I'm not reading the smut, just disturbing stuff. And then instantly we entered a fun house, like a house of mirrors at the Satan's Affair fair, and just some disturbing stuff was already said, to be honest. I'm not going to read things out. That was the plan originally, but without doing that, she is effectively, I can't even say it. I genuinely can't. This is why I don't want to do this book, because it's not like Den of Vipers or Wet Hot Allosaurus Summer or Ice Planet Barbarians or things like that, where it's just kind of laughable. This didn't feel laughable to me. She was effectively raped. Like, let's just say it for what it is. And we're supposed to be enjoying it, and no. And then it goes straight into, I've written down just paedophile ring, and there is genuinely a full gathering of these men where our main guy has gone into this gathering of well-to-do gentlemen, and he pulls up a picture of Daniela, a girl I saved 5 years ago. She's deep in a safe house and she was an orphan with no home to return to when I rescued her. It's an innocent picture of her dressed in Barbie pajamas. What sets the illusion is the haunted look in her eyes and the bruises marring her skin. And then, like, handing the phone down to him, I say lowly, "My latest toy." Dan's brows skyrocket to his forehead, but an evil, happy little smile forms on his face. "You share?" Blech. Understood, my friend, and when they grow too old, I smile. Organs are a hit on the black market. I think you'd be perfect for initiation then. Next one is a week from now. You interested? Like, it's so weird. And then to add to the weird, the only other thing that was in that chunk of me reading, now that it's past that time, it feels weird to split it into chunks, but the only other thing I wrote down for that was that they're at her house. I don't even remember their names. How bad is that? They're at her house and she basically says that she doesn't want him, and he says you should run. So she runs into the woods and he chases her down, and again, the R word. It just made me feel icky. Made me feel really, really icky. What gets even more icky is they have a dinner party for this initiation, and I've written down appetizer. We have our hearts set on what we'll be having for dinner this Saturday, and it's really special. We want to make sure this goes off without a hitch, so Friday we decided to have ourselves an appetizer, if you will. Well, to get our fill before the main event, of course, we have the perfect appetizer picked out just for you, one that resembles your own meals at home. It's safe to say you'll join me, yeah? My fists tighten until I hear bones crack. The appetizer is a little girl, one that apparently looks similar to the girl who was in the picture I showed him. He went out and handpicked a girl based on what he thinks I like. Grim. Grim. Then when they have this meal, I won't talk to, this one literally just makes me feel disgusted at actual society. They have this meal and the appetizer is a little girl called Sarah who is brought out into this meal, and he's basically demanding her around in front of everyone. He orders her to sit on his lap and she doesn't know that he's a good guy, and it's just so icky. He does lean down, whispering in her ear, "You're safe with me, just be quiet," but the whole like, "sit on my lap, Sarah," just makes me feel physically sick. So I think my camera battery actually agrees with me, and when I finished that sentence the battery died. So I feel like it's a good time to just stop talking about this book. Am I glad I read it? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I can make that statement. Am I glad I made this video? Probably not, because I wasn't going to post it. It was only for you guys saying please do that it's here. I think what I've taken away from this experience is that some books should just not be branded as romance in any capacity. There are romantic, or maybe just sexual, parts to this book. I don't think that qualifies it as a romance. I don't know what category this should be put in. Just no. It made it much more interesting for me, and actually felt like one I could talk more about in real life, because Cole's stepmom, or the mother-in-law as I call her in like every video, also read this book, so I actually could talk to her quite a lot about our feelings about it and what we were thinking. She's gone on to read the second book and she tells me a lot about it. I don't know if I'm gonna do that. I think if I got the opportunity to, I would, just to understand where this author's going with this. But yeah, I've learned don't categorize everything as romance just because there is a bit of a spicy scene in it. I've also learned to go with my gut, really. Like, I should have known that this wasn't one I wanted to do a video about because it was a bit too far and that I felt uncomfortable. I am now past the uncomfortable stage. I'm still going to post it. Whether this video gets privated very quickly will be a very different thing. We're done. We're done. That's it. I'm calling it. If you watched this entire vlog, please do leave me a cat and a mouse emoji. I assume there's a mouse. If there's not, just a cat for this being, but one in the cat and mouse duet. I hope I have enlightened you into why this book gets the reputation it does, and maybe that's made your decision on whether to give it a go. But I am not too sure on my feelings about reading this. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate all of your support always, and I will see you in my next, definitely calmer video. Bye.